There's going to be no sound. Hello, testing. Yes, apparently this morning OBS decided to mess with all my settings. I don't know what I did last night, but thanks. Sometimes OBS decides to do that, and it's like it just loses all your settings. So that's always fun. So yeah, if things are, things are a little screwy. There we go. Alright, chat is up. And this looks kind of fine, I guess. Okay, cool. Good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Quite a few people in chat already. Hey, Carrie. Hey, Jasper. Robert. Two Roberts, actually. Robert Watson, Robert White. Good afternoon, guys. Werty, hey, what you doing? And hey, Riziel, how you doing? We need to find... How are we finding the new Templar box? I need the new Marshal. I looked at the new Templar box very briefly, to be honest with you. Was that the only big 40k reveal that we should care about, or was there another one? I know that Gen Con is just now or something, and that there was... I mean, I don't overly care about action figures, I guess. And I guess there was a nice little trailer. And it said that there's 12 new models, right? 13 miniatures, 12 new Black Templars, a Marshal, the Emperor's Champion. I think we already saw the Emperor's Champion. Is this guy the Marshal? And a 10-man Primaris Crusader Squad. I'm not super familiar with Crusader Squads, but these guys are definitely looking like scouts, right? I'm not getting that box, not worth the money. I guess like it will... It's basically you think it's like a combat patrol box? You think this would be like $100 maybe? I was gonna say, is there anything new about this Redemptor, or it's just like it's got a couple of purity seals that you don't normally see on a normal Redemptor? But I think that's it, right? There's nothing else new about it. We have a look at a Crusader Squad. So what is a Crusader Squad when it's home? It's basically a tactical squad. Contains 5 initiates, 1 to 5 neophytes, every model, bolt pistol, bolt gun, frag grenades, and crack grenades. So the initiates are basically Space Marines, T4, I imagine. They'll still have 2 wounds, they'll probably just have +1 attack. I imagine the neophytes will just keep 1 wound, maybe, and have +1 attack and have a 4+ armor save. But if the regular version's only 14 points, so you basically pay 1 more point, like, you pay 1 point, literally 1 point to get 1 wound and 1 armor save. I feel like... I guess it'll be interesting to see how they point these guys, but that doesn't seem all that attractive. I mean, unless maybe they've got the same 2 wounds. Good afternoon, Martin. Pedroig. I don't know if we can make orcs. I don't know if we can make Tycho work in this list to fight against the orcs tomorrow. This list against orcs tomorrow is so stupid, though, honestly, because Andrew's running, like, what is it? It's, I'll pull it up real quick. But it's such a stupid list. Or it's maybe not stupid, but broken. So it's these Rucker Truck Squig Buggies, and I think they're... What are the other things? They are Mecha Track Scrapjets. Both these models are really, really powerful, and almost stupidly powerful. So he's got 8 of these Rucker Truck Squig Buggies. So they're 90 points per model. They're 6 wounds. They're toughness 9. And they have the heavy squig launcher, which is 36-inch range, and it's assault 2d6, strength 5, -2 damage, and it can target units that are not visible to its bearer. So by having 8 of these, he's getting, what is it? 8 times 2, 16d6 shots. 16 times 6, or 3.5 is the average of a d6. So he's getting 56 shots And it just mentions here that every attack made with this weapon gets +1 to hit. So he gets 56 shots hitting on 4s. So basically he gets 28 hits. 28 hits, strength 5, -2, 2 damage. And that's indirect fire, right? Like, if you're in cover and stuff, it doesn't matter. He shoots you anyway. He's indirect fire. He could also call a wag to make this -3. So 28, strength 5, -3, 2 damage shots. That's kind of stupid anyway. And then he also gets, if you're within 18 inches, just for good measure, he gets another d6 shots per bike. So it's another 8 d6 shots. And it's the same, strength 5, -2, 200. So I guess you're talking like he's got 40, 45 shots, strength 5, -2, 2 damage, which is basically very, very anti-marine. And it's -3 if he calls that wag early in the game. And I think the -3 lasts for 1 or 2 turns. And these things also have ramshackle, so if you don't hit them with toughness 8 or above, they're -1 damage as well. He takes a -1 for dense cover, yeah, and I guess you can smoke launcher him as well, but still, it's a ridiculous amount of shots, I think, for indirect fire for 90 points. You know, like if the whirlwind is 125 points. What is the whirlwind? I should know. I play the whirlwind all the time. I think the whirlwind is 125 points for strength 6, no AP, 2d6. So in my opinion, this is a lot stronger. And then the other thing he's got is I think he's got 9 of these Mechatrack scrap jets. So it's 9 of these. Each of them is bringing heavy 3d6. Sorry, heavy 3d3. So that gives him, 6 shots per scrapjet, and he's got like 9 of them. So he gets 56 shots. Yeah, they're only hitting on 5, so I guess he drops a bunch of them. But still 18, strength 8, -3, because he calls that wag, 3 damage missiles. Yeah. So that is a ton of firepower. And the other thing that's kind of horrific on these things is they have the spiked ram rule. So after this unit makes a charge roll, you can select one enemy unit within 1 inch of it and roll a d6 for each model that unit contains. For each 4+, that enemy suffers d3 mortal wounds. So if he charges you with any of these groups, or if he charges you with multiple of them, and bear in mind they do have 10-inch move, and orcs get to reroll all their charges. He's got the equivalent. He's got the ability to just do 9 mortal wounds, basically. So if 2 of these things manage to charge you, that's potentially 18 mortal wounds. So yeah, 18 mortal wounds if he gets to charge you, and what was it, like 40 indirect fire shots? So that's rough. Everything else you'll be taking is do you know what, we can quickly look at it. I put it in the members room on Discord, but yeah, it's I feel like it's kind of a broken list. Like there was a lot of chat last night in the members room. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so 3, 6, 9 of the scrapjets, 8 of the buggies. And then Death Skulls, so that I believe Death Skulls means that all of his troops are OBSEC. So he's got Commandos, Stormboys. I mean, these guys are just to sit on objectives. And then he also has the Junk Boss. I don't know too much about this character, actually. Junk Boss. I think he said that he can put up a force field for 1 turn. Oh, it's the big mech with custom force field. Sorry, I missed that. So that's what it is. So you can give all his buggies a 5+ invulnerable save for 1 turn. I actually don't know the ruling on custom force field. Let me just look at it real quick. But yeah, I mean, I don't think my regular list beats this. I think this list is kind of horrifically broken. Where friendly orcs within 6 inches of the bearer is a 6+ invulnerable save. The range of this ability aura can never be increased unless specifically stated otherwise. Okay, so he gives them all a 6+ invulnerable save. I'm not sure how he's giving them. He said he could give them a 5+ invulnerable save as well. Yeah, Maybe it's this junk boss thing. No, I don't know how we. Maybe there's a stratagem where you can give them a good save as well. But anyway, that's what we're playing tomorrow night. And Andrew's taking that list to the Grand Tournament in London, and I just think it's kind of broken. Like, I don't think in previous editions they nerfed indirect fire, right? Like, indirect fire used to be really big and they made it much weaker, so I don't know why they've done that with these and given these orc buggies basically 3d6 strength 5 minus 2 damage indirect fire shots. I mean, that is horrific into Marines. It's probably worse into Marines than other lists, because all of our guys are 2 wounds now, right? So like we're efficient at 2 wounds on points cost. So yeah, we'll play it, but who knows? Have I ever played Gorka Morka? No, I played Necromunda when I was younger. Gorka Morka was the one that had all the art buggies before, yeah. But if you think about that as well, sure, he's sinking 1,500 points into those jets and stuff, but they're gonna, you know how big those jets and rucker trucks are, right? Like they're gonna fill a huge amount of table space. So he's got 17 of these things. I actually want to know what base size these things are on. Maybe I can see on the Games Workshop website. Orc rocket trucks. I bet you they're sold out because they're broken. Oh no, they're not sold out. Okay. Does it say here what size base they're on? It usually says, right? 150 mil oval base. 150 mil is 15 centimeters, right? So like the base is yeah. In inches, so it's like a 6-inch base. Yeah, so these are 6-inch oval bases, and he's got 18 of them. So like there will be nowhere in his deployment zone possible that I can deep strike. Like these things will completely fill the deployment zone if he deploys them correctly. Which I think he probably would. You know, like he's not going to probably make a mistake and deploy them badly. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's what I've got to fight tomorrow. Any suggestions? Any suggestions would be welcome, but like I think my regular list just gets tabled. Like I can't survive that amount of firepower. Sit back at your table edge. Yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking of doing and taking some long range firepower. But yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. And it will fill up his whole deployment zone, yeah. I've seen it on the table before and it basically filled half the table, that many 6-inch bases. It's equivalent of having like 18 whirlwinds, right? Like if you put 18 whirlwinds into your deployment zone, there's not going to be much room for anything else. Okay, anyway. So if you want to see me probably lose tomorrow night and you want to get some easy points, then you come into the stream tomorrow night and bet on orcs. But I don't know. I think the person that balanced the Orcs Codex needs his head examined, because that to me doesn't seem balanced for what they can do. 56 on average, 56 strength 5 minus 2 shots indirect fire. That is ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And if you get within 18 inches, then basically add 6 more d6 shots. No. 8 more d6 shots, so another 54 shots. So basically over 100 shots, strength 5 minus 2 damage. Like, what is that? I only have like 40 models in my army, so if he has a good shooting phase and I have a bad phase of rolls, you could actually lose your entire army turn 1 to just the indirect fire. And remember, they're minus 3 if he calls the wag. Anyway. Let's start with Reziel's list today. So we've got a list from Reziel. We've got a couple of lists from members, Reziel and Steel Rain, and then we'll get into a couple of non-member lists as well. I got a list for you. It's really just a bit of fun. Trying out a minimalist shocking theme here. Should be able to score well. I believe it should be well suited to take all-comer strategy. There's There's a tool in here for versus just about everything. I wonder if you've got a tool against these buggies. Just keep in mind I've created this in a mid-August, so perhaps it is already aged poorly. Okay, so it's about a month old, right? We got the Calixtus Assassin, so we have Anti-Psychic. We have a Primaris Chaplain on a bike with Catechism of Fire and Gift of Foresight and Canticle of Hate and Master of Sanctity and Angel's Exemplar and Armor Indomitus and the Wiserator. So Catechism of Fire is which one again? Is that the one that's like +1 to hit for shooting? I don't always run all the different chaplain. Catechism of Fire. The closest it'll be the target, add 1 to the wound roll. Okay, so it makes it easier for your ranged attacks to wound. Okay. We also have the Primaris Tech Marine with Soul Warden, and I think Soul Warden on the Primaris Tech Marine is pretty good, right? I like upgrading the Tech Marine to do the like giving him Master of the Forge for 20 points, but sometimes it's hard to fit those 20 points into your army, so I can understand that. We then have Incursors and Infiltrators, which is sort of something we'll see pretty standard in 9th edition. You know, the Phobos units are by arguably the best troop choice, so nothing to say about those. We have a big death company. It looks like 10 men, 2 Thunderhammers, 1 Infernal Pistol, the rest is all chainswords. We have 2 Redemptors armed with the full arsenal, which is Stormbolters, Rocket Pods, Plasmas, and Gatling Cannons. And this is how I run my Redemptors at the moment, and I like it. We then have Servitors, just basically naked with 4 servo arms. We have 5 Bolter Inceptors for 200 points. We have Land Raider Achilles. -2 twin multi-meltas. Two times twin multi-meltas. Yeah, so that's 8 multi-melta shots from the Achilles. What other guns does the Achilles have? I'm not actually sure. I feel like it's got cannons on the top of it, but I don't remember. It's got an invulnerable save. It's got the quad launcher, of course. So the quad launcher can either be heavy 4, -2/3 damage, so kind of a little bit like a better version of a crack missile, or it can do its indirect heavy 4d3 at strength 4, no damage. We didn't have any sound at the very start, I'm sorry. And what else was in this list? And then the Whirlwind with the Castellan launcher. Okay. Happy Sunday, Lord Lysergic. Thanks for joining us. 2 Redemptors, Whirlwind and Achilles, Servitors, Bolter Inceptors, Death Company. I guess the Chaplain. Does Catechism of Fire buff? I was going to say, surely that doesn't buff the Achilles firing, right? Because it'll be chapter and core most likely. Yeah, okay, so it doesn't. The Achilles isn't going to have the core keyword, is it? No. Okay, I wouldn't have thought so because it's a vehicle. So what's the chaplain actually? What shooting is he buffing? I guess he's buffing the Redemptor shooting. Okay. And then the Tech Marine to make something hit on 2s. The Calixtus Assassin against to be a bit of an anti-psyker. I changed the litanies on the troops. Originally, Catechism of Fire is meant to combo on Deep Striking Inceptors. Oh, that makes sense as well. I mean, Deep Striking Inceptors is pretty useful. I thought that the 18 shots from just 3 of the Bolter Inceptors was really good. So, 5 Bolter Inceptors with a +1 to wound actually could be really, really good. Good day, Hondo. Thanks for tuning in. So we've got a Death Company with the ability to do that Forlorn Fury. We've got 2 Redemptors, which I like and give a very solid fire base. You've got the Calixtus to give you anti-psychic. You've got the Land Raider with the 8 multi-melta shots, basically. Plus arguably, I guess, the 4 rockets, and you can make this all hit on 2s. And the reason you can make it hit on 2s is Tech Marine. You can also repair that Land Raider. You've got the Whirlwind to maybe hold a backfield objective. You've got the Servitors to perform some actions. You've got 3 Vobos troops to either deploy aggressively or defensively or hold points. It would be really nice if you had the ability to do the flat 3 wounds on the Tech Marine, but I mean, on average, I guess the Tech Marine averages 2 wounds, so maybe 20 points for just 1 more wound on average isn't always worth it. You have a very, very survivable Chaplain with Armor Indomitus and Gift of Foresight, and obviously Wiserator, so basically you can guarantee that your litanies are going off, or almost guarantee, your litanies will be going off on 2s. I don't like the Chaplain if you don't take Wiserator, because litanies on a 3 just to me never seem reliable enough. I guess over the course of the game, I guess if you cast a litany a turn and you have 5 turns in the game, then I just expect 2 turns you're going to fail your litanies. And whereas if you have litanies on a 2, sometimes you can go through the whole game and never fail a litany, right? You're never going to go through a whole game and never fail a litany on a 3, so I think Wiserator is kind of worth its weight in gold if you're going to take that Chaplain. I was going to say, I guess you kind of don't have any way to reroll hits, but I suppose you would play Wisdom of the Ancient on one of the Dreadnoughts each turn, potentially. Greetings, Camille, how you doing? So you'd pay your Wisdom of the Ancients each turn, and then that gives you reroll 1s, probably. Lorenzo says, I'm trying to convince someone to use a double stealing objective combo. 1 character with Rites of War plus Vision of Death, and a Reaver Lieutenant with a plus 3-inch artifact on Primaries aura. I don't know if you necessarily need that. I mean, like, if you're gonna try and steal objectives, just put Rites of War on a Blood Angel's like captain or lieutenant or somebody, and then just flood the objective with like Sangria Guard and Death Company and Vanguard Veterans. You should have enough but by the time you've gone in and you've fought in combat, you should have enough models left on the objective if you consolidate properly. That Rites of War means that you'll steal it off the opponent. Like, you don't need to be minusing their obsec. I feel like Rites of War has that 6-inch bubble. You can definitely get the value, I think, without doing that. Hey Hydra, we were just talking a little bit about this horrific orc list I have to fight tomorrow. And then we're started on Rezio's list. Alright, yeah, let me put on the top of the screen that we're on Rezio's list. 1 second. I should have done this already. Okay. So I like going 10-man Death Company with the Forlorn Fury. I feel like they get a little bit more value if you have a priest or a captain to give them something, more rerolls on their hits, or put them in the Assault Doctrine. I guess you can pay 2 CP. That's going to be expensive though. So you're going to pay 2 CP to Forlorn Fury them. Then you're going to pay 2 CP or something to put them in Adaptive Strategy. Yeah. But, I mean, it could work out. We play Wisdom of the Ancient on these Redemptors. We buff the Achilles. What's inside the Achilles in this list, though? Because the Achilles, how many does it hold? Just 6 on the Achilles. So is anything inside the Achilles? Maybe the Servitors? I suppose if the Death Company gets super low, they could you could jump them back and put some of them inside the Achilles so the opponent can't kill them. I feel like if you're going to run the Achilles, and this could be controversial, as much as I dislike tactical squads, it might be worth just having a tactical squad in the Achilles, so once the Achilles drives up, you can just unload the tactical squad onto an objective and be obsecking it away from the enemy. Okay. Because like it's going to be super difficult for the enemy to kill the Achilles with its 5 up and vulnerable save and its 16 wounds and its toughness 8 and its 2+ regular save, right? Yeah, I feel like it's just going to be very difficult for them to kill it. Okay, let me think. Anyway, let's talk a little about a scoring. Actually, a tactical squad is one of the changes. Okay, yeah, but great minds think alike, I guess. You could just have a tactical squad. You could drop 1 bolter and scepter. You could drop the servitors and just be a pain with the tactical squad, or maybe just drop 1 squad of incursors or infiltrators, just to have something in the transport you could unload and throw onto an objective. I think that would be pretty cool, actually. I mean, that's what Dark Elder do, right? And they win a lot of games, actually, just because they flood the objective with obsec units. Yeah, I mean, you're right, Lorenzo. If you want to use the Wiserator 1 CP stratagem, you have to have cast nothing else this turn. But it can be worth it. Like in this case, if you just need to make sure you're making your charges, you could just activate Canticle of Hate and leave it like that. Okay, let's talk about some scoring on this list. So, I like having 3 troop units. And they're all OBSEC, obviously. So something like an 8.5, I think we say, for 3 Phobos troops. Anti-infantry, I mean, we've got 2 Redemptors, Stormbolters, Plasmas, we've got Inceptors with a ton of chaff anti-firepower, we've got our Tech Marine, who also has that Forged Bolter, and then we've got 3 squads of troops. I think our anti-infantry shooting here is actually very good, and we've obviously got the Death Company that can pile in and do a bunch of chainsword attacks into hordes as well. Anti-monster, I mean, we've got 2 Redemptors, and Redemptors will kill monsters and vehicles. Their plasmas are, strength 9, flat 3 damage. It's very good, especially if they can reroll their 1s and don't take mortal wounds. You've got the Tech Marine there that could repair them. You've got the Achilles bringing those 8 multi-melta shots and then the 4 other shots. I really want to get an Achilles. I think they're a great tank for the points cost. If I was going to run a Land Raider, it would either be an Achilles or a Proteus. I think they're way better than the regular Land Raiders. And I think the main reason I think they're better is their vulnerable saves. 3 damage weapons then. I guess like the Tech Marine's got 1. The Death Company have got 3. The Redemptors each have 2. So that gives you 4, 7, 8. And then the Achilles 3 damage weapons, I guess he's bringing 4 multi-meltas and the quad launcher to the party. So you have about 13 3 damage weapons. And the enemy are going to have to take out the Achilles, I think, because they can't afford to ignore it. 8 multi-meltas on a strength 8, 16 wound, toughness 8 model. I don't know why I said strength there, I meant toughness. I think is going to be, especially backed up with the Tech Marine. So if they can't kill it in a single turn, which is going to be very difficult, and the Achilles can also be smoke screened, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, it can be smoke screened, and you can machine spirit it as well, so it can still be on full profile, even if it just has 1 wound remaining. And your Tech Marine also has Soul Warden, so you've got protection against mortals. I don't know, I think your anti-vehicle here is a 9. I would have made it 9.5 if there had been a Sangria Guard in this list, but I think 9... You do have the 2 Redemptors, and the Redemptor Fists do just eat through things with the D3 plus 3 damage as well. Yeah, I'm going to stick with what I thought, something like a 9. And then the other 2 factors then are mobility. Mobility is pretty good. maybe we'll lose a couple of points here because our Redemptors aren't mobile, but really, and I guess your Achilles maybe isn't 100% mobile either, like 10 inches. 10 inches is decent. Redemptor's only going 8 is a little bit slow, but overall, I'd say it's not bad. Maybe like a 7.5 for mobility. It's still pretty good though. And then specialization. So we've got the ability to fight last with Whirlwind. We have our Calixus, who's I think he's -2 to all psychic powers within 18 inches, right? Oh god, I can never spell Calixus. Let me pull it from your list. Calixus Assassin. I have a Calixus Assassin, I just don't run her all that much. She is -2 to all psychic tests within 18 inches. So although you don't have any denies, you do have -2 to all psychic tests, which kind of helps. So I guess we probably don't take any points off for denies, or maybe take off like a 0.25. Units for actions, we've actually got 4 because we've got 3 troop units and we've got those servitors. You've got 3 damage weapons, so you have about 13 of them. And then the one thing I didn't think to check here is you have 10 CP. So you actually have a very healthy number of CP here as well. So I think this should be like a 9.5 then. I think overall this is very, very good. Even 9.75 if the only thing we're marking you down on is that you don't have denies. Oh yeah, of course, sorry. Inceptors can do actions and Inceptors can do Upon Wings of Fire, which is really, really strong, I think. The Achilles does get 8 multi-melta shots, yeah, and then it has 4 strength, 8, -2, 3 damage shots as well. Aren't Redemptors kind of fragile for the points? No invulnerable save. No invulnerable save is their only weakness. They have -1 to all incoming damage, remember that as well. So 2 damage weapons just do 1 against them, and I mean, there is ways to get Redemptors and vulnerable saves. You know, like in my tournament list that I just went to, I took Psychic Fortress, so I could give my Redemptors an invulnerable save. If you give them an invulnerable save on 13 wounds and there's a Tech Marine around, they are super strong. Like, there's no two ways about it. They are super good. You are a little bit vulnerable if you don't have your invulnerable save. However, in this list, I don't think that people can afford to shoot the Redemptors. Because if they're shooting the Redemptors, they're leaving the Achilles, which has, like I said, 8 multi-meltas. It's basically a Devastator squad. It's a Devastator squad of multi-meltas, and the Tech Marine can make them hit on 2s, so they're more likely to hit than a Devastator squad, and they're more likely to be able to get in half range to do the whole 12. To do the D6 plus 2 damage from the half range multi-meltas. So, yeah, I mean, I think with this list you could feasibly. It still takes a lot of firepower to take down a Redemptor. If you think about it this way, right? Like, Dark Lances are a very good weapon right now. So Dark Lances are strength 8, D3 plus 3, and they're -4. So a Redemptor would not get a save against a Dark Lance. How many Dark Lances would it take to kill a Redemptor? If you think about the Dark Lance, the average is 5. So remember, the Redemptor's -1 damage. So basically, each Dark Lance against a Redemptor would do 4 damage. So you would need 4 Dark Lances to hit and wound to kill a Redemptor, right? So Dark Lances hit on a 3 typically and wound on a 3 against the Redemptor. So if you had 4, the inverse of that, 1.5 would mean that, the inverse of that would mean that you would have to have 6 wound rolls to kill a Redemptor, which means by de facto that's inversed again to 1.5. So you would need 9 Dark Lances to hit a single Redemptor to kill it, even though it cannot make an armor save against the Dark Lance. And in the lists I played up against this weekend, or last weekend, tournament-wise, I think it was 2 Drukhari, and both of them had 6 Dark Lances. And you have to remember as well, is it going to be possible for them to get all their Dark Lances into a single Redemptor? You know, like, are they going to be able to position all 6 of the Raiders to hit that one Redemptor? If they do that, let's say they do that and they kill a Redemptor, great. You know, next turn you're going to have that Achilles in their face with those 8 multi-meltas. I don't think they can choose to ignore it. They've also probably chosen to ignore the Death Company at that point. I think you'd almost be happy if they put all their firepower into Redemptor and killed it. I ran in my tournament list. I was running 5 Blade Guard Veterans, and the Blade Guard Veterans were a little bit like that. Like they're supposed to go to the middle of the board and hold the middle of the board because they're a very tanky unit with their storm shields and 3 wounds each, and you can transhuman them. But like, I fully expect the Blade Guard to die every turn. They're kind of there to die. They're a unit that can eat up a ton of fire, and like in my list, if people put everything into the Blade Guard and killed the Blade Guard in like the first turn or the second turn, I'm actually fine, because it means like if they killed the Blade Guard, probably my Sangria Guard haven't been shot at, my Vanguard Vets haven't been shot at, you know, my Redemptors haven't been shot at, and like yes, they've killed the Blade Guard, and yes, that is a little bit annoying, but like the Blade Guard, and some, you know, it's the same thing, right? Like, they can't ignore everything. And in one game, I guess the Blade Guard didn't get shot at because the guy actually went after my Dreadnoughts. And in that game, it was a game against the Admech. They actually killed both my Dreadnoughts, maybe in like might have been even turn 2, I think. Maybe it was turn 3, and maybe in turn 2 I had one Dreadnought left that was pretty badly profiled. But by spending the time and killing out my Dreadnoughts, and bear in mind, my Dreadnoughts didn't always have invulnerable saves, as you say, they have that -1 damage. It meant that like in turn 2 or 3, in the same turn he was killing my Dreadnoughts, my Blade Guard Veterans were like in his deployment zone, killing everything. Like, it was in his deployment zone, killing his characters on his objectives, killing his tanks on his objectives, just because you'd ignore the Blade Guard Veterans. And like, this is why I did that video about consolidating and fighting and getting maximum movement, because if you charge something and you use your consolidation to or use your pile-in to move almost round them, and then you know you're going to kill them, and use your consolidation to get another 3 inches up the board, you can get a lot of movement. So yeah, I was very pleased on the games that my Blade Guards didn't get targeted. They did really, really well. Okay, so let's talk very quickly on this list about how we could make it a little bit better. And I think we're going to replace one of the Infiltrator squads with a Tactical Squad. Tactical Squad is what, 75 points? I forget. No, I think they used to be 75 points and they put them up in points, didn't they? They're 90 points now. I don't run Tactical Squads. Yeah, okay, so they're 90 points. So we could put in a Tactical Squad that leaves us about 35 points. What could we do with our 35 points? What about Iron Strider, Ballistary, Twin Cognus Las Cannon, 2 attacks, hitting on 2s with buffs, 3+ for the wound, -3, D3 +3, and it's assault for some reason. Admech have reroll hit, wound, and damage. Yeah, okay. I mean, I guess against the Cognus Las Cannons, you're right, Jasper. You would really want a way to get those Redemptors invuln saved. But how many Iron Striders is it going to take to kill one? Remember, you are going to get save. You're going to get a save on a 6. I know it's not a great save, but it is a save. I can't do all that complicated math in my head, but I do think that they're 75 points each. Yeah, I mean, Admech are pretty strong at the moment. There's no denying that. I don't know why those Cognus Las Cannons got made so good. I think they're assault as well, those Cognus Las Cannons, aren't they? I can't remember. Let me put that into battle. Whatchamacallit? Wikipedia. Yeah, they're assault 2. Okay, yeah, because that feels balanced. Yeah, I mean they're going to tear Redemptors to pieces a little bit more effectively than Raiders for sure. It's still going to take a good few shots though, right? Because if you're only wounding on 3s, and like I said, you're going to need to go through 4. You need to fail 4 saves. I guess because they can reroll the damage, maybe you only need to fail 3 saves. So 5 need to get through. So I guess 3 of these things could kill a Redemptor, but I guess if the Redemptors do save on 6s, so every time you luck out and make a save, you're going to need a 4th one to kill it. So yeah, it's actually not too bad. It's not great, but it's not too bad, I would guess. But I mean, I guess this is why in my video this week I'm going to talk about I'm probably going to talk a little bit about Relic Contemptors and why people are running Relic Contemptors, because Relic Contemptors they're just in a very good spot. 9 wounds with a 5+ save. And Relic Contemptors they're very reliable if you give them those Volkite cannons, right? The Volkites can just do an awful lot of work. They're kind of cheap and they guarantee a good number of shots. You posted a version in members only chat that you gave me. Okay, so maybe this list has changed a little bit. Let me see if I can just pull it up real quick. You could have submitted it. Do you know what? It's been a very, very busy week. Okay, so you took... I think I like the list more with the Sangria Guard. I just love Sangria Guard. I think they're our most damaging unit. What did you drop to get it? Sorry. Oh, you dropped them Scepters. Interesting. I like Inceptors a lot actually as well. I mean, I wonder if you did make it a tactical squad and save 10 points there, and you got rid of the servitors, so you've got 40 points, and then you maybe lost 2 Sangria Guard. And you get like 2 Sangria Guard and a Death Company or something, and get 3 Inceptors in there. How many Sangria Guard does that leave you? 5? I mean, 5 can still do some work. It's not as great, but it can still do some work. And you have those tactical squads to just unload onto Jetpack, and but you think servitors are too efficient. All right, I think I scored it reasonably decently. I think 43.7 is a pretty strong scoring. I've never had an Achilles. I do want to get some more Forge Roll tanks. I'm going to take my Forge Roll tank tomorrow, I think, against those Rocket Trucks. Unless you guys in the chat think it's a horrific idea, I think that's going to be one of my best weapons to try and kill all those Rocket Trucks. Because he's toughness 8 and he has 120-inch range on that main cannon, so I'm just going to sit at the very back of the map and try and kill like a squad of Rocket Trucks every turn for a couple of turns and push forward. Alright, list number 2 today is Steel Rain. I'm actually, do you know what, one question actually while we're talking about the Falchion is I think I'm going to replace the quad las cannons with the laser destroyers. So you lose a shot, but you gain D3 plus 3 rather than just D6 damage. The D6 damage is very, very swingy, right? Whereas D3 plus 3 is, I think, much better. If you take 6 shots with an average of 5 damage, you get 30. Whereas if you take 8 shots with an average of, what is a D6 again? Average result of like 3.5? 8 times 3.5? 28. So I think the laser destroyers are going to be better. They are going to cost 10 points more, but I do lose some range. So if I'm in range to shoot the laser destroyers, I'm going to be in range to be hit by those stupid 50 million squigs or whatever he's got, you know. But we'll see. So it'll be fun. I haven't run the Falchion for a long time. I'm excited. I'm probably going to run like a bunch of Terminators with it, and I'm just going to start everything off the board except like the Falchion and a few core units, really. Yeah. Okay. List number 2 for today then. Steel Rain. And let's get into it. It says, "Hey Commander, this is my new competitive list I've been running for the past few weeks. It is mostly a melee list, and I know that's contrary to the meta on the channel, but it might shake things up a bit. This list also makes use of the Sangria as a centerpiece, and I got the idea after your HQ video." Alright, I've done an interview with Jack, who went 7-1, using a very melee list. And that'll be coming on the channel this week, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, this list is focused on a few things. First, having a significant number of melee units, either in a varied in speed and purpose. Excuse me. I have had problems with low-cost armies that trade well, such as Sisters, when I'm running a list with only 2 or 3 elite melee units. This aims to solve that. The second focus, having a high number of CP, allows me to freely use it to increase the survivability damage and use tricks. And an added bonus in several games has been punishing my opponent to use their CP much faster. I've made lists with more CP than this one. Excuse me. I've made lists with more CP than this one and run out by turn 2 or 3. While I still have some to spare, the last focus is high number of units that can perform actions. 3 troop choices: the Eliminators, my Sangria Guard, as I tend to keep them on the table to the rear until later in the game. The lack of Psychic is a deliberate pick to make use of aboard the Witch. Secondary, as there are several Grey Knights to 1,000 Suns in my meta. Quick sanguinary explanation: heroic intervening using Angel Sacrifice gives me a unique opportunity to turn off melee anywhere on the table for 1 or 2 turns. While it's expensive, it is invaluable in dealing with nasty melee combos and allowing my elite units to survive later into the game. And that's one of the reasons I take Suppression Fire, is to make sure that my elite units survive until later in the game. Dreads might be good vs Rucka Trucks for the -1 damage against the 2D launchers. Yes, I mean, Dreads would be good. I could share the list that I was thinking about Werty a little bit later on in the stream, and then maybe you guys can give me some critiques and we can speak about it, or give you my ideas with it anyway. Okay, so we have Dante, who is the chapter master, and this is a 10 CP list. So he gives the chapter master rerolls, and he helps mop up late game, and he is the warlord. We have the chaplain, who's master of sanctity. He has reroll protection. Sorry, his rerolls. He has mortal wound protection and added 3 damage when needed. So he's got mantra of strength and litany of faith, and obviously litany of hate. He's got an infernal pistol. He's got a jump pack, and he is the wise orator. Null shields would be good. What's a null shield? Sorry. And then the Sanguinar, who is in reserve for heroic intervention plus angel sacrifice. Maybe the Sanguinar is something that I could take against his Rucka Trucks. That'd be interesting. Let me think. Alright, Incursors, forward deploy, guerrilla tactics, assault intercessors, reserve actions, flank charges, backfield defense from reserve, turn 2 or 3 charge. And I guess he's got 2 loads of assault intercessors. Dante is still a little bit overcosted. I think Dante is a good character to have, but I don't personally think he's worth having as the warlord. Like, I like that he gets like the free stratagem so he can fight on death because he loves to die. But I don't think he necessarily, like, I think his warlord trait's kind of crap, and I spoke about that before. Okay, we have the Blade Guard veterans who are going for midfield objectives. They have such as Oath of Moment, and they have Quake Bolts on the Sergeant, so they can get +1 to their hits. We have the Death Company Marines, which are going to be a Forlorn Fury, 2 Thunderhammers, a Chainsword, an Infernal Pistol, and the turn 1 charge. We have the Judasar, who has the Fight Last and the Selfless Valor and Visage of Death, so you can remove OBSEC from enemy units. Sangria Guard, on the table or in reserve: 3 axes, 4 swords. Vanguard Veterans. They can be they can take objectives, they can solve problems, and they can combat squad or not. We've got 1 Thunder Hammer, another few Thunder Hammers, and a bunch of Lightning Claws, and then Eliminators times 2 actions, backfield objectives, holders, guerrilla tactics, sniping. Okay, so 2 sets of snipers. The Vanguard Veterans, and it's a 10-man. A Sangria Guard, and it's a 7-man. A Judiciar, a Death Company, is a 10-man. A Blade Guard, and it's a 5. 2 Assault Intercessors. And Intercessors, the Sanguinar, Dante, and the Chaplain. Okay, interesting. Yeah, this is definitely a very melee list. It feels a little bit sad with the 3 large squads of melee jump pack units to not have the Wrath of Baal. Or an Icon of the Angel, so that they can move faster and or reroll their charges. Void Shields, I'm with you, Pedro. Yeah, I did think about Void Shields, off topic. Like, I was thinking about the Strayus. There's another tank that I can never spell the name of. How do you spell Astraeus? Or should I just type in Blood Angels? But I don't know how the Astraeus would do against... I don't know how it would do against all those trucks. Like, does it have good enough... It's got... The Astraeus Large Rippers, which are unfortunately just D6 damage, which is annoying. But heavy 4, 36 inches. It also has the twin macro plus. That's his main gun. Heavy 12, strength 8, minus 2, 3 damage. So based on that, you would basically need 3 shots of this to go through to kill a buggy. If you give him hitting on 2s, you probably get 10 hits. So the main cannon can probably kill, like, let me think. You get 10 hits. You're wounding on 3s. So the main cannon can maybe kill like 2 buggies a turn, and then the Las Rippers could maybe kill one other one. Yeah, it's not... It's better than the Falchion in that it survives more, right? Because it's got the 2 Void Shields, which give it the 5 up and vulnerable save against range attacks, and also you have to, if he doesn't kill the Void Shields, they recharge. But yeah, that's another question, I guess. I do like the look of this. The Astraeus is actually a tank I want to buy. Hey AR, good afternoon, how you doing? Okay, so Eliminators to snipe out characters, 3 10-man or 2 10-man squads of jump units, and then the 7 Sangria Guard. The Judiciar and the Blade Guard to sit middle. Assault Intercessors to basically deep strike or reserve. Dante, the Sanguinar, and the Chaplain. So, yeah, the Russians really don't care about copyright law, do they? I love Wapedia, man, honestly. If you're ever at a tournament and you can't find the thing in your codex, that's why I use Wapedia in my pocket on my phone. What's sad is the Wapedia website is better than the GW app for finding stuff. Okay, so objective holding. I guess we've got 2 Eliminator squads that can hold objectives. Obviously, they'd probably be in cover, so they're difficult to shift. Incursors for forward deploy, and then 2 more Assault Intercessor units. And so we've got our 3 OBSEC, we've got removal of OBSEC, and we've got some Eliminators as well. I think it's like a 9. Anti-infantry horde, then we're probably pretty light on firepower here. Our Eliminators can shoot strength 5 D3 shots into horde units. It's not the greatest because there's no AP on it. Our Sangria Guard can shoot into horde units because they've got Angelus bolt guns, but there's not much firepower coming out from this list, period. So we can obviously charge things, but I tend to want to be able to shoot away hordes because you don't want to be killing poxwalkers with your Sangria Guard, for example. Like if the poxwalkers are all up there in front of the Terminators, you can't charge the Terminators. It's generally a bad deal, right? I don't like the Strays, honestly. I don't know. I feel like what Pedroig said, like a tank that has what are they called, void shields would be very good against that list. The only question is, what other Lords of War have void shields? Like, it's just the Astraeus and the Mastodon, I think. And the Mastodon probably doesn't do enough killing. I mean, the Mastodon is more of a transport, I guess, than a killing thing. I mean, it is T9, which is nice. Yeah. It does have the Siege Melt Array, which is heavy. So it does have like 8 multi-meltas on it as well, I suppose. Yeah, okay, it does do quite a bit of killing then if it has 8 multi-meltas. Kind of forgot that part. Okay. Anti-monster infantry effectiveness of this list. Well, we've got the Thunderhammers on the Vanguard Veterans and the Lightning Claws. We also have Thunderhammers in the Death Company and Infernal Pistols, obviously the Sangria Guard, and those Blade Guards. Those Blade Guard swords are pretty nasty, being -3 and -4 as well. Blade Guard get a lot of attacks as well. I think it's 5 for the Sergeant, or it'll be 6 when he charges. I think it's 4 base, 4 and 3, but when they charge, they can get +1 and +2 after turn 3. Wouldn't you rather take 2 Leviathans with, are you saying Storm Cannons? SDMG. I don't know what SD and MG stand for. 2 Twin Volkite Coverings and 3 Hunter Killer Missiles. How do you get the Blade Guard up the field? Usually when I play Blade Guard, you just advance them in turn 1. You advance them in turn 1 to the middle objective. Or the middle of the map for Oath of Moment, and hopefully you get them in a obscuring position. You can usually get a turn 2 charge off with the Blade Guard, and usually it's not that difficult. Siege Drill. Alright, okay. Siege Drill and Melta Gun, thank you. Okay. I mean, I could take some shooting Leviathans, I could take some shooting... what are the other things? Shooting Leviathans and shooting... Contemptors? Yeah, Contemptor Dreadnoughts, that's the one. Yeah. I mean, I could take Dreadnoughts. We'll get to the list that I'm going to be running here in a few minutes. Or it'll probably be an hour, actually, because we're going to go through... But if we can build a list that beats Andrew tomorrow and crushes his dreams with that orc list, I would be very happy. Okay. How many 3 damage weapons we got then? We have like basically 8 in the Vanguard Veteran Squad and 3 in the Death Company. And then I guess Commander Dante's pistol, and an Infernal Pistol on this guy. So we've got a good number of 3 damage weapons. It's all melee combat though. Oh, the Judasaur's sword I guess can kind of do 3 damage because it does mortals on 6s as well. So anti-monster vehicles, I think we would say it's about similar to the last list. It's a 9. It could maybe even be a 10 here. The Infernal Pistols, 4 Infernal Pistols in the Vanguard Veteran Squad is pretty scary. Even if they're combat squadded, each squad has 2 Infernal Pistols. That's pretty nice. I like Infernal Pistols a lot. I think they add a lot to Blood Angels list. You know, when you start shooting them in close range, they can just do a ton of work. Why isn't Dante's pistol double range like it used to be? Yeah, I mean, it should be, and also Mephiston's plasma pistol used to be mastercrafted as well. I've complained about that. We also have, I guess, very little mobility issues with this list. Our Blade Guard and the Judas are not mobile, but they're probably going for the midfield. And pretty much everything, even the Eliminators. I don't think the Eliminators need to be super mobile, but they are, because he's got the bolt carbines, which means after they've shot, they get an additional 6 inches of move. So the Eliminators can actually move 12 inches each turn. So, yeah, I think mobility is like a 9 here. And then specialization. So we've got no denies. We have a good number of units that can do actions. We have no fight last. We're going to be trying to deal with fight last with maybe like a Angel Sacrifice Heroic Intervention. We do have 3 damage weapons, and I think we do start on 10 CP. So I think probably we lose a point because we've got no denies, and maybe we lose a half point because we've got no fight last. Do you know what? We do have a fight last. It's on the Judasar. It's just very, very difficult to make that work because he's gonna obsec the middle of the board, or he's gonna counter obsec in the middle of the board, and he's gonna make you fight last in the middle of the board. But that's the only place you're going to be able to make the enemy fight last. So yeah, I think a 9 then for specialization, and I think that kind of puts that list on a similar strength. On a similar strength to Rezio's list before. Sometimes when we're doing these lists and there's 2 lists of really similar strengths, and it would almost be nice to see these lists fight each other. But this list is a lot more melee combat orientated, which can be good for Blood Angels, but it really depends on the terrain. If you know what terrain, like if you're going to be on a dense board with a lot of terrain, then I guess this list has a slight edge. If you're going to be in quite an open board, then I think Rezio's list obviously has a slight edge. The tournament I was on just this week past, every set of 3 games, there was one board that had heavy terrain, one board that had medium terrain, and one board that had light terrain. And basically each team rolled off, and the winners got to pick one board. So, and then the other players just sort of filtered in. So, I guess you can't always guarantee the terrain, and this is why I prefer the shooting lists to melee lists. Some people prefer full melee Blood Angels lists. I think if you come up on a terrain board that doesn't have enough terrain, or has light terrain, and we'll be talking about that in the next week or so when I start sharing pictures of the tournament I was at, because I definitely had games on the light boards and I also had games on the dense boards. And I think that the dense boards are advantageous to pure melee lists because you can get in obscuring positions, etc. And in the light boards, you have advantages on shooting. I seem to be making shooting work really, really well right now, but just mixing in enough melee is the trick. Do you have any recommended way to decide to set up how to set up terrain? Yes, you go to just search WTC terrain rules. You see it in my title bar, and go into the WCT rules. This is the website you should find. And if you go down here to this terrain map, it's a PDF, and it's got 8 different boards. And each board, so like table 1 for example, it's like if you're playing missions 11, 21 or 31 from the chapter approved book, and you get table 1, this is the terrain and it's all measured out for you, and it goes, like I said, it goes from light to heavy, and there's 8 different tables in this PDF. So basically the way we do it is we just roll 2d6. If we roll more than 8, we roll again, and we would just, say we roll a 7, we'd scroll down to table 7, then we'd find table 7 for the map, because the map actually does change the terrain, and then we just use what's on here. We did play with that new GW setup like 1 or 2 times. Let me think. The GW did share this, and this was the terrain that they were using at the US Open, and there was like 2 setups that they had, and then they had like a picture of each of the board and like a key for what terrain was what, and I played this terrain where all these bits in the middle were obscuring as Blood Angels 1 game, and this was actually really advantageous for Blood Angels just because like these brown bits are obscuring, these blue bits are obscuring. I don't think the green bits were area terrain, right? So they are dense cover, breachable, defensible, and difficult ground, which again is great for us because obviously we don't care about difficult ground if our units fly. But this GW terrain as well, I think they may be trying to move to a more standard terrain setup, and this was, if you look at firing arcs in here, where's the firing arcs on this map? And this is why Jack went 7-1 in that big US Open, because the firing arcs are kind of terrible on this map. Like there is very little one, unless of course you're in these brown bits of cover. Then you don't, once you're in the cover, you don't care about the cover anymore for firing arcs. But if you've got like a group of assault intercessors or death company or something hiding behind one of these brown pieces, it's very scary if you're over here to move out, because you won't be able to move out and touch this cover to shoot them. So you end up out here in the open. These guys will just jump over them and eat you for breakfast, right? Okay. So 44 on Steel Rain. I'm going to highlight both these guys in green, because these lists are almost, I'd say they're pretty much, I know that I scored Steel Rain a tiny bit higher, but I think they're about identical lists. I think they're both pretty strong. And these guys are big members of our community, Steel Rain and Reziel. So if you guys ever have questions about Blood Angels and I'm not there to answer them, these guys will give you really good advice. And honestly, I don't know if I would ended up doing so well in my tournament if I hadn't listened to Reziel and taken those Bolter and Scepters, because they were huge for me. I played Admech, who are typically toughness 3, I played Harlequins that are typically toughness 3, and I played Drukhari twice that are also typically toughness 3, and my Bolter and Scepters did great work in every game. They scored me points, they killed units, they performed actions, and they descended of the angels as well. They were brilliant. So do you know what? In this list against Andrew, I've dropped like everything that I normally take, but I've kept the Bolter and Scepters, so I must really love them. All right, let's move on to list number 3 for today, and this is done by Not So Average Joe. Hey Blood Angels Commander, I'm resubmitting my list because of some keyword stuff I overlooked. My basic plan is to have either Assault Intercessors on my opponent's weak side and push them up with a Bite Chaplain to score points, either by getting objectives or doing actions. Sangria Priest will go with my Vanguard Vets, so I can add the Feel No Pain to their invulnerable saves, put them on Assault Doctrine early, and of course res and heal them. The Librarian Dread will probably push up the centre of the board. Do you know what? I haven't thought about a Librarian Dread against Andrew. This might be a good call. With my Hellblasters and Redemptive Dread, where I'll use Wisdom of the Ancients to give the Hellblaster rights of battle. The Eradicators will do their thing and take out enemy armor or other targets, and Infiltrators will chill in the back, scoring points and doing actions. Sangria Guard will be off the board and brought in to deal with any unexpected or big threats. I played an RTT with GW terrain. It seems pretty good for a fast combat army. I brought shooting Necrons and that was rough. Yes, I imagine that would have been rough. The firing arcs on those, like as a Blood Angels player of a long period of time, if the map doesn't feel like there's enough terrain on it, sometimes I would say like this feels a bit unfair on Blood Angels because there's no terrain for me to get behind. And I've played against Andrew's Iron Hands and lost games because there was just no terrain to move from place to place, so I had to have all my units in the open and they just get chewed up by the Iron Hands. But I think Games Workshop's layout there has maybe gone one step too far the other way. Like, I feel like that is too much terrain. Like, there should be some firing arcs, right? Like, if you have a Dreadnought and there's literally no way to shoot the other side of the map with all your 36-inch weaponry, it's like, what's the point of even bringing the Dreadnought? I want to shout out Hive Guard again. Anyone who's played them again knows what I mean. Yeah, Hive Guard are nasty. I mean, in a way, the Hive Guard is almost the equivalent of these Rucka Trucks, right? I forget Hive Guard. I think they're strength 8 minus 2 D3 damage, right? And they're like 3 shots each indirect. They're pretty good. I like Hive Guard. If you've got Hive Guard on the battlefield, you have to get them. Otherwise, they will just shoot a ridiculous amount of... They're great against Marines. The D3 damage is really great. All right, so Librarian Dreadnought with Quickening and Wings. Iron Resolve, of course. Primaris Chaplain on a bike with Mantra of Strength, Canticle of Hate, Benediction of Fury. He's a Chapter Master and he's the Wiserator. Yep. The Sangria Priest, Chief Apothecary, and the Jump Pack. He is the Selfless Healer and he is the Warlord. Okay, so the Warlord is the Sangria Priest. The Primaris Chaplain has the Benediction of Fury and the Wiserator, yep. And the Canticle of Hate. What's his other... Shouldn't he have another litany here? Is that what's confusing me? If he's a Master of Sanctity... No, that's right. Yeah, Mantra of Strength. Sorry. Okay. Assault Intercessors times 9, times 10 actually. 10 Assault Intercessors. Power Sword and the Sergeant. Infiltrators and Infiltrators. And one unit can shoot twice. Okay. I played against Andrew's Tyranids a while back on the channel, and the Hive Guard were really one of the strongest units, I felt like. We have one Redemptive Dreadnought, Heavy Onslaught Cannon, and the Rocket Pods, and the Frag Storm. I don't like the Frag Storm because if you get in combat, you can't shoot it, and a Redemptive Dreadnought, you kind of want to be in combat because your fist's so nasty. And I also don't like the Gatling Cannon, the heavy one. I just think the Plasma is much more viable because it can... You know, when targets are open or something, the Plasma, the flat 3 damage can be very, very good. I guess the Plasma can do 18 damage max. The Gatling Cannon can do 12 damage max, and like... If enemies don't have an invulnerable save, the Plasma always just, you know, it's -4, so you just remove the ability for them to even save. We have 5 Sangria Guard with axes, we have 5 Sangria Guard with swords, we have 10 Vanguard Veterans, all Lightning Claws and Storm Shields. I typically like giving the Sergeant from the Vanguard Veterans like a Thunderhammer or something, you know, like, he gets that extra attack, it feels like you should use it. And then we have Eradicators with Melter Rifles, and Hellblasters with Assault in Plasmas. Okay. We don't see Hellblasters very often. That's for sure. That's definitely for sure. We rarely ever see Hellblasters. Okay. So... Librarian Dread, Priest, Assault Intercessors, 2 smallish Sangria Guards, 1 Vanguard Veterans. So it's kind of a list that's like... It's definitely got the melee threat, and it has a little bit of fire support. I guess the Assault Hellblasters are maybe going to push the middle of the map. I have thought about Assault Hellblasters a lot, but they're so expensive, and they are just 2-wound Marines, right? They're not survivable at all. And I think that's kind of why I don't like them. You know, they're 33 points per model, I think. Yeah, 33 points per model. And they're just a Marine. They're just strength 4, 2 wounds. So I think if the enemy knows this and goes after them, they can wipe them in a single turn without much commitment. And if you were going to have Assault Plasma inside like a... Oh, I forget the name of the Primaris transport. The Impulsor, because you can move the Impulsor, and because it's an assault vehicle, you can disembark and shoot. Like if you're going to put 5 Hellblasters in that and do that, I think that's maybe okay. But if you're not, if that's not the plan, then I'm not. I feel like I'm not entirely sure how you get good value out of them, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'm just not sure. The Vanguard Veterans are great. The two Sangria Guard are generally good. One Redemptor on his own means that he's probably going to be focused down by the enemy, meaning that I feel like one Redemptor on his own. Like, would this list just be stronger if you just dropped the Hellblasters and just had 2 Redemptors? I feel like it probably would be. I also feel like you probably don't need 2 squads of Infiltrators here. You maybe just need 1 in an Incursor, and that would give you the ability to drop the Hellblasters and take 2 Redemptors. What's the role of the Hellblasters in this list, right? Like, if you wanted to send the Hellblasters center board with, like, Blade Guard Veterans and a Apothecary, I would understand that, but he said that he was going to send the Priest with the Vanguard Veterans, and the Priest is the Warlord. So if the Priest is with the Vanguard Veterans and they're going down a flank or they're going into the enemy, you know, how do you get the Plasmas to work on this map? And yeah, I mean, you're right, Highland Phoenix. You'd probably be, if you want to make Assault Plasmas work, you'd probably be better off just going Plasma and Scepters. Play them as a KG counter defend unit. I suppose, yeah, if you had them obscured and you just played them very defensively, maybe. But we talk about the strength of like the fight last. Well, like would a whirlwind here just be better than these hellblasters? And yeah, I like infiltrators. I don't think they're as much of an auto include that I maybe thought they were before. I think one squad of infiltrators is fine. Sergeant Marshmallow, thank you for renewing your membership. It's much appreciated. And you want to push forward with the 10-man assault intercessors. I don't dislike that either. Wisdom of the Ancient makes them a lot better. Yeah, that's true. My Dark Angels Hellblasters are moving, or a moving Castle of Death. Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to make Hellblasters effective, or if I was going to run Hellblasters, I'd probably run like a Redemptor with a Chief Librarian to give them the 5-up invan, and then with an Apothecary and like castle them around. But you've said you can do it better with Dark Angels, right? I just don't know if I like them much for Blood Angels. I like Eradicators. Obviously, they're very scary, and I like everything else in this list. I like the Chaplain. I like the Librarian Dreadnought. I like Iron Resolve in the Librarian Dreadnought. I think that's a good Warlord pick, a good Warlord trait. And I like the fact that we've got a power sword on the plasma or on the assault intercessor squad, rather than like some people take the plasma pistol. I think the plasma pistol is worthless. I like the power sword. The power sword also gives you the option to take it as like a relic weapon. Like what is it, Archangel Shard? You could pay 1 CP and upgrade that, so it would do 2 damage per hit, and against monsters or whatnot, you could upgrade it so it's doing even more. Or Chaos and Demons, you could do even more. A little bit of a question mark around one Redemptor. Like we said, like I guess if you use that Cosnix Las Cannon as an example on the Iron Stride, on the Iron Striders, yeah, they could kill the one Redemptor in a single turn, and also the weapon options in the Redemptor are a little bit questionable. I think if you want to run a Redemptor Dreadnought, I think you have to run 2. I don't think 1 works. In all the lists that I played, did I try a list with just... I don't remember if I tried a list with just 1 of them. But I've had great success running 2. I prefer running 2 Redemptors to running like Eradicators. Even though I could get 4 Eradicators, I prefer the Redemptors, because the Redemptors tend to soak up a lot of firepower, the -1 damage, and then if they get into melee combat, they're kind of crazy in melee combat. Like they always chew through things. Big targets, characters, squads, they just wipe them out in melee combat, right? Okay, so let's do some scoring on this list then. We've got 3 OBSEC units, and 1 is a very big unit of assault intercessors. I think I'd probably go with like an 8-5. Anti-horde, we do have anti-horde firepower here, right? We've got 20 shots from Angelus bolt guns. We've got assault, 15 shots from Hellblasters, which could decimate hordes. The Redemptor's armed with onslaughts ×2. So it can do some anti-horde work, and then I guess your assault intercessors with all these chainswords can also kill hordes. So I actually think anti-horde here is very strong. Anti-monsters, probably a little bit weaker. We do have a Librarian Dreadnought. We do have a Mantra of Strength Chaplain here, so that's 2 3 damage weapons. We also have the Redemptor bringing another 2. And then we have Eradicators bringing 3, so it's 10 3 damage weapons, or 7, but the Eradicators get to fire 2 melta shots each. So 3 damage weapons is a little short in this list. See in chat, some people are saying Thunderhammers on the Vanguard Veterans. I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I think I would probably... you know, like I would actually just swap one of those Infiltrator squads for Incursor squad just to get a Thunderhammer on the Sergeant, let alone anywhere else. I mean, it's 5 Thunderhammer attacks. That's potentially 15 damage as opposed to 5 damage. So I would do that for a start. That would make this list a little bit stronger in my eyes. I'd also switch out this Onslaught Cannon for the Plasma Cannon, which is another 3 damage weapon. That can, I know the Plasma Cannon can be a bit more swingy, but it can also swing really effectively your way. And we do have the 10 Sangria Guard, which is nice. We do have Assault Intercessors that can fight twice and a Librarian. So I actually think Anti-Monster is okay. It's not the strongest, but it's okay. Mobility-wise, Eradicators aren't mobile, Hellblasters aren't mobile, Redemptors are sort of mobile, Assault Intercessors aren't mobile, so I think it's just coming in a little bit less than Rezio's list. Let's go with the 7, and then Specialization, right? We have no way to make the enemy fight last, we have no way... Oh, we have 1 Deny from our Librarian. Okay, so 1 Deny is okay, I guess. It's not great, right? If you're fighting a Psychic army, 1 Deny is kind of worthless. Even with 2 Denies, you're struggling a bit. So, units for actions is good. We've got multiple, I guess. If we combat squad, yeah, we could have like 8 units that can do actions here. We're low on 3 damage weapons, and we're starting with how many CP here? 9. So we're good on CP. But I think Specialization is quite a bit lower. So maybe like a 7, because no fight last, low amount of 3 damage weapons, so probably like a point off for each of those, and then 1 Deny. I guess 1 Deny doesn't really cut it anymore. Maybe we should just take half a point off because you have 2 Denies, but against some of these new Psychic armies, 1 Deny is really not going to cut it anymore. I've never been impressed with Infernal Pistols as others. They're okay. Do you know what? I'm surprised you guys are never impressed with Infernal Pistols. They're just as swingy as I guess they're just as swingy as a Meltagun, for example. But the thing with Blood Angels is we're always in combat, right? Or we're always in close combat. I want to say at the tournament I had some stupid Dakari character that had 14 attacks right inside. He managed to charge me with the stupid a Dakari character that basically rolls against your leadership and makes you fight last. Was it Dazar? This model can be, yeah, so this guy gets to fight twice, and of course he hits on 2s, and of course he wounds on, like, I think he was wounding on 3s, and they're -3 damage. So this guy came firing into my Sangria Guard to do, like, you know, for some reason I think he said that he got, he must have had something else with him that basically gave him 14 attacks, reroll hits and wounds, hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s, right? So after he did that, I just Infernal Pistoled him in the face and rolled a 6 for the damage and just vaporized him from full health. I was like, that's what you fucking get. So I am a fan of Infernal Pistols. I don't go over the top on them. On my list, I think I have 1 in my Sangria Guard and I have 1 on my Chapter Master, and I think that's it. And the reason that those are the characters that carry them for me is because the Chapter Master gets that 1 free reroll every turn, and the Sangria Guard typically hit on 2s, rerolling 1s when they're next to the Chapter Master as well. So it's almost like you just have 2 hits, you're just hoping for that wound and then the fail of the save, and then you do a ton of damage. I like it. But yeah, they can be, like, yeah, there's definitely games I play where the Infernal Pistols do nothing, but likewise there's games I play where the Infernal Pistol just vaporizes the character and makes me free to charge something else. And in one of the games, actually, I think one of my Infernal Pistols opened up a Raider, which was really important, right? So I managed to use the Infernal Pistol to do like 5 damage to a Dakari Raider and blew it up, and then it meant that I was able to charge what was inside, and if I hadn't been able to charge what was inside, I maybe don't win the game because he had a bunch of OBSEC stuff inside, as Dakari typically do, right? Alright, so Not So Average Joe, I think about a 40.5. I think you reevaluate the Hellblasters. I think they work better for other chapters. I think Inceptors would be better here. I might even be tempted to just run a squad of Bolter Inceptors replace this plasma with replace this onslaught cannon with a plasma, because the bolter inceptors will give you what you've swapped there, and then try and find some more 3 damage weapons, be it some thunder hammers on your Vanguard Veterans, maybe 2, so that you can combat squad and have a thunder hammer in each squad. You actually have elite squads here, so you could actually just run 2 squads of 5 Vanguard Veterans, thunder hammer on each of the sergeant. That's a good question. I actually never combat squad my units. If you combat squad a unit, does the second squad get a sergeant, or do they just not have a sergeant? I literally never combat squad stuff. But yeah, good question. Good random question, I guess. And then at that point, you might even want to put a thunder hammer on your assault intercessor sergeant. If you're going to be spending the 2 CP to let them fight twice, it's only the squad leader. Okay, all right. So yeah, I think you'd be better. I think you'd be better, because I'd just run 2 squads. You know, this is a battalion, so you're allowed 6 elites. I would just run 2 squads of 5 Vanguard Veterans here. Thunder hammer on both sergeants. And then, yeah, replace the Hell... So if you replace the Hellbasters with 3 Bolter Inceptors, you literally get 45 points. That is literally 3 more Thunderhammers. So that is what I would do. 3 more Thunderhammers probably pushes you up a little bit on the anti-monster and gives you a little bit more specialization points. And then, yeah, I mean, I guess you just don't have a fight last in this list, and you just need to deal with it. Not every list needs to have a fight last, you know? Okay, yeah, you know how much I've had the 9th edition codex for a year at this point, Highland Phoenix, and I've literally not read any of the lore of it at all. The only bit of lore I've read is the bit on the very back, which is like the little synopsis. Good afternoon. Quick question regarding your last game on Monday vs Necrons. I mean no disrespect. Just curious. So you feel that two Redemptors and Tech Marines take away the feel of a Blood Angel's army, sort of feeling like Ultramarines or something. Do I feel that 2 Redemptors take away the feel of a Blood Angel's army? No, I disagree with... in the interview I done with Jack Harper, because I've done the interview, I'll just get it up in the channel soon, he actually said, he said the same thing, and a few people have said it. Stephen over at Vanguard Tactics has said it, or, actually, no, maybe it wasn't Stephen, I forget the guy that Stephen plays against. Is it James? I'd know him if I see him. Anyway, I think that a few people have said that, so someone over in Vanguard Tactics has said it. When I interviewed Jack the other night, he said it as well, and I've heard other people say it. Do I think taking shooting units means that you're not a Blood Angels player, or do I think that if you want to take shooting units, you should just play another chapter? 100% no. I mean, look at the tournament I just went. I'm going to be going to another tournament in November. I was checking the date today. Actually, it's the 11th and 12th of November, and I'll probably be running a very, very similar list. So that's 1 squad of Sangria Guard, and 1 squad of Blade Guard Veterans. Maybe my only 100% melee units. And no, I don't think that. I enjoy playing Blood Angels with that. That's all I need. And If our melee units were stronger at the moment, then I would take more of them. But I guess the reality is that they're not. So, I enjoy playing Blood Angels, whether or not I take Redemptors. In fact, Redemptors are very good for Blood Angels, because you pretty much wound everything in the game on 2s, because you're strength 14 with +1 to wound. So if you get your Redemptors into close combat, they just chew through everything, and they can just move forward shooting. And my whole strategy for that tournament was 2 Redemptors with a 5-man squad of Blade Guard and a Librarian with Psychic Mastery and a Psychic Fortress, and they were just going to push the middle of the board every game, right? So if you think about other armies that can do melee combat, what can come in melee against 5 Blade Guard Veterans and 2 Redemptors and a Psyker that's going to turn off the enemy invulnerable saves if I need it? what army is going to be good against that, or what's going to be good against that. So yeah, I 100% don't. I don't buy the fact that like Blood Angels need to be all melee jump pack units. If people want to run that and people want to do well with that, then more power to them. But I don't buy it. Oh yeah, another thing I suppose was that I also have a Tech Marine in there, giving all those guys a 5+ shrug against mortal wounds, which is pretty important as well. What's my feeling about using legends? Well, you can't use legends in tournaments, Nathan. So I just don't consider legends on my army lists. Typically, that's where I stand, and this is why, like if we talk about shooting and we talk about units like that, I typically always run dreadnoughts with a combat weapon, right? Even if I was running a Leviathan Dreadnought or a Contemptor Dreadnought, I always like to have a fist on there because we are Blood Angels and we are very good in combat. So, some people are running those double Contemptor Dreadnoughts. I don't know if I would run that because I can see why it's good, but I like to run my Dreadnoughts with a fist. So even if I was going to run Contemptor Dreadnoughts with like, what is it? Twin Volkite Cannons? Volkite Chargers, I think they're called. I'd probably still want to put a fist on the other one just so that I can get into combat and chew things up if I want to. I think our Dreadnoughts are more scary if they've got a combat weapon, which is probably why I like Redemptors so much, because the Redemptors have a lot of firepower, but they also have that close combat threat. Well, I mean, it's fine to copy a list you saw online, and I guess I'll talk about it, Misha, so if you want to copy it, by all means, but I don't always recommend you copy someone else's list. I always think you should look at someone else's list as a starting point, maybe, and see if there's improvements that you think you can make. Because the list that I ran at the tournament, I already think there's some improvements I want to make as well. Okay. Alright, Sam's list. Number 4 for today. Let's start on Sam Milbauer. Cool. I predict firstborn bite captains will go legends soonish, the Achilles even sooner. I don't think they'll legends anything in 10th edition, honestly. Pedroig, I think that if they're going to legends it, it'll be next edition, or they'll legends it when there's a new bite captain, like a Primaris bite captain. I have already preempted that, and I have already built a Primaris bite captain. Like, I built a chapter master on a bike using an outrider, and I can't remember what other parts, but yeah, I already built one because I was like, yeah, if they want to, I think they'll have a new Primaris bike captain to sell at some point. Bike captains are so popular now. I'd be very surprised they didn't do that. Anyway, here's a list for my game against Deathwatch today. I only started playing in January and I'm still learning, but I usually win about half my games. Yeah, I mean, 50% win rate is about right for new players or whatever. Okay, so this is a strike force and it is a battalion. Oh, sorry, it's a patrol, 0 CP, and he's starting with 10 CP in the patrol. I guess there's something else, probably a Vanguard. Primaris Chaplain on the bike, Mantra of Strength, Recantation of Focus, Benediction of Fury, Imperium Sword, Master of Sanctity. Like I said before, I think that the best Warlord trait to take if you're going to make him Master of Sanctity is the Wise Orator. I think it's better than Imperium Sword. I guess Imperium Sword here is to give him the +1 strength. So with Benediction of Fury, he's on 7 strength. So with Mantra of Strength, he's on 8 strength. And he's got extra attacks. 2 extra attacks, I guess. Someone told me the Primaris Chaplain... Someone told me the Primaris Chaplain on a bike has 5 attacks. Am I wrong? I was playing him with 4 attacks at this tournament. Yeah, I know I was playing him with 4. So I don't know who said it was that he had 5 attacks, but no, he's just got 4. I was thinking I gave myself out of an attack, but no, I didn't. Okay, we then have our Sangria Priest, who is the Warlord. He's the Warlord. He's the Icon of the Angel, and he is a selfless healer. I don't play the Sangria Priest anymore at 155 points. I think he's very expensive at 155 points. Forge World did discontinue the mini. Yeah, that's true, and I guess there is no Bike Captain model as well. So yeah, both of those models could actually be both those models could be legends or whatever pretty soon. I just don't think they're going to legend stuff in the middle of the edition because it would mean changing the codex, right? So like, unless the Space Marines get a new codex, like a halfway through edition Space Marine codex, with obviously the Primaris Game Breakers in it, then I don't think they're going to legends it. But I mean, if there is a new codex with the Primaris Game Breakers, then I mean, we should all buy Primaris Game Breakers, remember? Okay, Icon of the Angel, I can understand that. Getting your rerolls of charges, it's pretty nice. We got 2 Infiltrator Squads here, so a lot of Deep Strike Denial. We then have 4 Blade Guard Veterans, 2 attack bikes with multi-meltas, and Eradicators with a heavy melt rifle. So the heavy melt rifles are really nice. I just found them really difficult to use when I played them, because obviously you only get a 5-inch move on those Eradicators, which 5 inches is really not that much, and they're -1 to hit when you start moving around. So it's difficult to have Eradicators moved into a perfect position to make the heavy rifles work. But saying that, if the enemy is something like orcs, and they're going to be charging you, then I think heavy melt rifles are great, because obviously as they get closer, you just stand your ground and you could just vaporize them. We then have the Vanguard detachment, and this is our Librarian Dreadnought, Quickening, Bloodlance. We don't see Bloodlance very often. We haven't actually seen it so often, I'm going to have to Google it. I think Bloodlance is like the vector attack, right, that you make with the Psyker. Bloodlance. Draw the shortest possible line between the Psyker and a selected enemy model, then roll a d6 for each model. The center of the line passes over, and a 5+ that model's unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Ugh. That doesn't feel like much, does it? Or a 5+. So maybe like you could get a few models in it. I don't know if that's the right pick for the 3rd psychic power. If you're going to be Chief Librarian, I think I would take Unleash Rage and like give my Sangria Guard Exploding 6s or something like that. I think that's a much better psychic power to have. Or even Shield of Sanguinius to help protect the Dreadnought from dying. That could be valuable as well. Okay, we got 2 Redemptive Dreadnoughts, Frag Storms, Icarus Rocket Pods, Onslaught Cannons. I think the Frag Storms is the wrong choice. And I've said that before, because you'll always end up in combat with these guys. Sometimes the enemy will actually try and charge these guys with chaff units to keep them busy, because obviously they don't want to be getting hit by the plasma cannons and the power fists. So having the Stormbolters means, you know, in combat you can get 8 Stormbolter shots. That will help chew up chaff units. And I think the bonus the Frag Storms get is minor because they only have 18 inches. So I think if you can put Stormbolters on your Redemptors, I would do that. 5 Sangria Guard with axes. 7 Sangria Guard with swords. Now, swords are only typically going to be better if you have Null Zone, right? Where we stand right now, you want the axes so you can wound most enemies on 2s, or I guess you can wound Drukhari Raiders on 3s as opposed to 4s. Yeah, I think you want axes where possible, unless you have Null Zone. Because Null Zone with the swords and the -4 is very nice, means most enemies save nothing. But if you don't have Null Zone, then I think you should have more axes. In the tournament I just ran into, actually, I had 4 axes, 3 swords, but I do run Null Zone, so I mean that makes sense. And then the Whirlwind launcher as well. Infiltrators hold the backfield and screen the Whirlwind. My Whirlwind never died within the tournament. Like I said, a lot of people are using a lot less deep striking stuff now. So I think you could probably get away with 1 squad of Infiltrators here. Take a squad of Incursors, free up 15 points. I'm not sure what you would do with those 15 points yet, but we can talk about it. Eradicators start on the board and move to hold near midfield. Bikes stay near the Dread for Wisdom of the Ancient. Buffs and accompany Chaplain when spearheads an enemy character and monsters. The bikes die so quickly, I'd almost think about strategic reserving the bikes if you can afford to, because bikes just get melted these days, it seems like. I play a lot of Death Guard, they just take them out with their Plague Burst Crawlers. I against Drukhari Raiders, each failed save, and you're not going to get to make a save, is a dead bike. I'd probably think about starting the bikes in Strategic Reserve. Stronger guard unit, stay in the sky till turn 3. One other starts on the boards and move with Librarian and Chaplain. Redemptors clear screens and move with the main force. Bladeguard to hold the middle. Priest is buffing guard, and bikes, hopefully resurrecting some. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something the Priest can do, I guess. But 2 attack bikes is... When I was running 3 attack bikes, there was times where the enemy would shoot so much into the attack bikes, I was left with 1 attack bike on 1 wound. I was then able to obviously do the full flat 3 heal because of the Priest and then bring 1 back. And that was very, very strong. Where it's like you had 1 bike left with 1 wound and you basically now have 2 bikes left that are both on full health. But I think with 2 bikes, you're likely to lose them both. It might even be worth running these as 2 separate units. That's how I'm running my bikes at the moment. 2 separate units. Bring them on from the side of the board to basically snipe characters or snipe important targets like raiders with multi-meltas. Worked pretty well for me. I would drop the 15 points on these guys and get 1 squad of Incursors. Incursors are better in melee combat as well. I may even consider dropping these heavy melt rifles at that point and just run regular melt rifle Eradicators, 1 squad of Incursors. That's now 30 points free. Not sure what we do yet with those 30 points, but that's definitely something to consider. I would also swap out these frag storms, like I said, and I think I like most of the rest of your list. Just axes are better. We'll debate axes and swords, it feels like forever. In chat, in comments, we'll always debate axes and swords. But I think axes are slightly better at the moment. Because you really want to be able to get those wounds on 2s when you can. Okay. 2 Infiltrator squads and the Whirlwind for backfield objective holding. I think we're looking at something like 7.5 for OBSEC. Anti-infantry hordes, well, we've got 2 Redemptors, that's a lot of firepower. We've got like 12 Sangria Guard, that's decent. We've got the Whirlwind, which can also help shoot hordes out. We've got some Stormbolters from the attack bikes. We've got our Chaplain on a bike, who also has his twin... It's just... What is the gun that the Chaplain on the bike has again? Do you know what? I think I ran this wrong at the tournament. I think this gun might have AP, and I think I ran it the whole tournament with no AP. Primaris Chaplain on a bike. Let me feel. Does his gun have AP? Maybe I'm wrong. Oh yeah, his gun's got AP. God damn it! All right, I ran this at 0 AP the whole tournament. Oops. Oh, and it's 30 inches. I was running it as 24 inches as well. I thought it was the same as the captain. There's definitely turns that he never shot that he probably could have shot then. Okay. Oops. Oops. I don't think it would have made a huge difference though, I guess. We still won 4 out of 5, right? Anti-infantry then. We've got some good firepower coming in. Sangria Guard, like 20-some bolter shots. If you replace out the Stormbolters, these are pretty good, otherwise they're not bad. And I guess your Infiltrators can sometimes shoot, and your Chaplain can sometimes shoot as well. I think Anti-Horde is maybe up there. Maybe it's an 8.5. Maybe it's not quite 9, because the other lists had the Bolter Inceptors as well. Anti-Vehicle, then we've got a bunch of... we've got the 2 Redemptors. We also have the Eradicators and the attack bikes, so we definitely have good firepower against vehicles. Yeah, I know. Do you know what? It's just that was just stupid. I was just running them the same as the Chapter Master on a bike, which is 24 inches, strength 4, no AP. I know that the Chaplain hits on 3s, ballistic skill 3, but yeah, I don't know why I blanked on the fact that he's Primaris, so he has a better gun. It's fine. I mean, maybe I killed like 1 more model in a couple of games, but I think that maybe I managed to shoot 1 or 2 more times when he was out of range, but yeah, it wouldn't have made much difference to my final tournament placing. Yeah, I would have made like, do you know what? I did have 1 raider left that had 1 wound that swung a game, so maybe it made a difference, but yeah, it's fine. Okay, so my list was a little bit stronger than I thought it was. We have 2 plasmas, and like I said, the heavy melt rifle eradicators and the attack bikes, and then quite a big Sangria Guard, and a Librarian Dreadnought, and a Chaplain that has Imperium Sword. Like, we have a lot of anti-monster here. I think we're on a 9. Mobility-wise, the Eradicators are the one thing that jump out as me as a problem. Redemptors are okay mobility-wise. I think we go with like an 8. And then Specialization. So we've got the Chief Librarian, so we've got 2 denies. We have the Whirlwind, so we've got the Fight Last. Units for actions, we've got 2 Phobos units, which is pretty good. I mean, Sangria Guard at a push can perform an action if you really need them to. Vanguard Veterans at a push can perform an action if you need them to. So potentially 5 units for actions. 3 damage weapons is not bad in that we've got the Benediction of Fury, that gives us 1. 2 more multi-meltas, that's 3. 3 more multi-meltas, that's 6. The 2 Dreadnoughts each having 2, that puts us up to 10. The Chief Librarian Dreadnought having his claw and his halberd, I guess that gives us 11. So a good number of 3 damage weapons, and then starting CP is a bit lower at 7. So I think 8.5 seems like a valid specialization. Maybe it's a 9. I feel like if he makes the tweaks that I mentioned, so like maybe if you had 30 extra points by tweaking those heavy multi-rifles and those infiltrators, what could we do with those 30 points, I guess, is my main thing. Like, we're super close to getting 1 more Vanguard Veteran, which would be really nice, but we can't do it. I don't know what we spend those 30 points on, though. If someone has a suggestion in the chat, do you know what? We could take another unit of scoring. We could take a unit of servitors for 30 points, couldn't we? You always call him the Outrider Chaplain, even though that's not his name. That's probably a good idea. Make both squads of Sangria Guard 6. Well, I mean, I think the reason some people run a 7 and a 5 is so that you're resistant to blast weapons. I mean, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. Servitors are 30 points, and servitors would just give you 1 more thing. If you were going to strategic reserve the 2 attack bikes, which I think is a good idea, and I think you split them up into 2 separate units so they can come in where they want them to, then you strategic reserve the unit of servitors, so you can just bring those servitors on to perform Octarius data, or in score engage on all fronts, and that's how I would finish it up. And I think if you did that, maybe we could put you up like 1 more point on this scoring. Okay, give me a second here. So that's our 4 lists today, and Reziel and Steel Rain, you guys come in top. Sam's list here at the end is pretty, it's a pretty decent list. I like it a lot, and Joe's list wasn't bad either. So 4 pretty good lists. What is this a list of? What do you mean? What is it a list of? Sorry. But this list that Sam has here has it has a Vanguard detachment with plenty of space in it, right? Like, you can have 6 elites in a Vanguard detachment. He only has 4, so there'll be no problem here with him. What am I trying to say? There'd be no problem with here getting those servitors in is absolutely no problem, right? Are you like Chicken's people list, or are you building one yourself? At the moment, what we do on the show every week, Peroxide Man, is we go over community submitted lists. And that's what we've been doing so far, and we score them out of 50. And then we show you this nice graph. And we're usually live for about 2 hours every Sunday about the same time, and we take 4 lists. If you want to submit your list, I should have said that at the start of today's stream. What you do is you go over to the Blood Angels Commander channel on YouTube, which is like youtube.com/c/Blood Angels Commander, and click on community. And what you can do here in the community is, in this latest community post, just click here to put a comment, and you just comment your list in the latest community post. Doesn't matter what doesn't matter what the post is. If you comment in there, then I will find it because I get notifications when anyone comments on a community post, and I will add it to the queue. There is quite a big queue at the moment, so if you're a member of the channel, the queue is about 2 or 3 weeks. If you're a non-member, our queue is about 10 weeks. So, but I mean, you will get even if you don't want to support the channel, you just want your list reviewed, I will still review it. Just the queue is a little bit longer. So just bear with me, but I will get to it. And I think that in this show, even if it's not your list getting talked about, hopefully we talk about a lot of different things and give people advice that way. Anyway, alright, so that is today's show kind of over. But I am going to add a little bit extra here. And we're just going to talk about this quote-unquote orc list that Andrew's running tomorrow and see if anyone wants to give me 2 cents on what I'm thinking of running against the orcs. Because I really want to beat his orc list because he's convinced that it is going... Well, it's a pretty imbalanced orc list, right? Like, what was it? It was like... I can't even spell those orc things. I'll just go into the orc pages. It's Mechatrack Scrapjets times 9 and Rocket Truck Squig Buggies times 8. So 8 buggies. They each have 36-inch assault 2d6 strength 5 minus 2 damage blast weapons that are indirect fire. They also have another d6 18-inch assault blast weapons that are also indirect fire. They have an assault 2 sawn-off shotgun. In melee combat, each truck gets 4 attacks at strength 7 minus 2 damage, and I guess they have a grenade as well. Once per turn, if this unit has any squig mines remaining, select one vehicle within 6. On a 3 to 5, it suffers mortal wounds. On a 6, it suffers d6 mortal wounds. The number of squig mines this unit has equipped with is then reduced by 1. How many do they have to pay for squig mines, or does it just start with squig mines? I have no idea, actually. He also gets to add 1 to all his attack rolls with the heavy squig launchers, because orcs are balanced. He can also shoot with both grenade and pistol weapons in addition to all his other weapons. And if they die, they explode. And I believe there's also a stratagem where he can basically smoke screen all of these vehicles at once for 2 CP. So, like, at the start of your shooting phase, select 1 speed vehicle unit from your army until the end of the phase, while a friendly speed vehicle is within 6. Minus 1 to hit. And I think he can fall back and shoot. Use the stratagem at the end of your shooting phase. Oh, Evil Sun speed vehicle of the army. That unit can immediately make a normal move. Oops. Nope. I thought there was a fall back and shoot stratagem as well. Maybe there is. Okay, so anyway. He's got 8 of these squig buggies, and they are nasty as all hell with basically 3d6 indirect fire. So an average of like 10 shots per buggy, strength 5 minus 2 damage, and that's indirect fire. And then the Mechatrix Scrapjets, which he has 9 of, have 3d3 rockets, strength 8 minus 2 damage. So potentially that's 56 of these rockets a turn, or like, yeah, is that right? 6 times 9, yeah, 54 rockets per turn. Strength 8 minus 2 damage. He also gets a wing missile, strength 8 minus 2 damage with +1 to hit against vehicles. So if there's 9 of them, so it's 63 strength 8 minus 2 rockets a turn. And you can also call a wag in turn 1 so that they are, if he calls the speed wag, orc models from your army do not suffer the penalty incurred to hit rolls for firing assault weapons on the same turn the unit advance, so they can advance and still shoot. And all these things were assault, so they can shoot them without the -1. When it shoots with any DACA weapons, it can make 1 additional attack. Each time an orc vehicle or biker from your army makes a ranged attack, improve the armor penetration of that by 1 as well, so they're -3 as well. And if the Mechatrack Scrapjets ever get to charge me, they will do After this unit makes a charge move, you can select one enemy within 1 inch and roll d6 for each enemy. For each model this unit contains, For each roll of 4+, the enemy suffers d3 mortal wounds. So if you manage to charge with any of these scrapjets, then that is basically up to 9 mortal wounds. And each time this model shoots, you can select one twin shooter. Each time that shoots with a big shooter, add +1 to the attack. So these also get basically DACA 11 or DACA 7, so 7 shots at 36 inches, and they get +1 to hit as well. So, and these things are nasty in melee too. They'll be strength 8, they'll be -2, they'll be d3 damage. And both the scrapjets and the rocket trucks are toughness 6. They've got 9 wounds. They've got ramshackle, so it's -1 against all damage if it's under strength 8. And they also have a 6+ invulnerable save. Storm Talon may be interesting. I don't own a Storm Talon, but yeah, I mean, a Storm Talon would be interesting. Something that had -1 to hit means that they'd only hit some 5s and 6s, but it might be worth grabbing the Death Mask Relic to really nail them on morale. Why? What is their morale? Leadership 7. So you could almost have them fail leaderships. The thing is, any character or anything that they can see is going to just kill them. So 1 Librarian Dread, 1 Tech Marine, 3 Redemptors, 3 Leviathans, 3 Death Company Dreads in drop pods, throw in some servitors and Vencons. It might be leadership 6 on the buggies, was it? Leadership 7 on both. They're squads, so yeah, they could fail morale. It would be hard for the character to survive. Anyway, let me show you what I thought I might run tomorrow, and then you guys can jump in and see what you said. So a captain, and this is not a bike captain, this is just a captain with Gift of Foresight, a jump pack, a storm shield. He's got Angels of Exemplar, so he's got the Armor Indomitus, and he's got Imperium Sword, and he's got a Thunderhammer. So he is basically Gift of Foresighting to, reroll hits and Imperium Sword, so he's rerolling charges. So he'll be arriving in turn 2 from Deep Strike. We also have a Chaplain in Terminator Armor who's going to run the Canticle of Hate, so that we can get +2 to all our consolidations and +3 to our consolidations, +3 to our pylons, and +2 to our charge rolls. He's also going to have Icon of the Angel, so when we arrive, basically we're going to pay the CP so that we're going to have a 7-inch rerollable charge on all my Deep Strikers. And then obviously we're going to have those massive consolidation ranges. We also have the Primaris Tech Marine, who is Master of the Forge, so we're healing 3. We have 2 units of Assault Intercessors, basically the cheapest troops I can get. And these guys will probably actually just be deployed on the edge of my board, hopefully out with range of 36 inches from him. We also have an Crusader Squad, mainly probably deployed there as well with the idea to use guerrilla tactics. We have 1 squad of Sangria Guard, all with swords. I think that's just because I made this in Battle Scribe, so we should probably make all these axes because swords aren't going to wound very well against the toughness 6. Axes will wound much better. Ramshackle is going to fuck the Sangria Guard actually, though, because they're only going to do 1 damage per successful hit. But how many Sangria Guard is that? 7? 2, 4, 6, 7. So 7 Sangria Guard is going to make 35 hits, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, and then wounding on 3s. So we're going to end up with he's going to need to make 23 saves, and he's only going to save on 6s or something. So yeah, they're going to kill, even at -1 damage, they're going to kill 2.5 buggies when they get in. So I guess I would just need to follow in with the chapter or the captain that I talked about. His Thunderhammer could obviously join in this and do a bit of damage that way. We're also going to run Assault Terminator squads, and when I made this, I just put Thunderhammers in one squad and Lightning Claws in the other squad, but I think I'm going to split them. I think I'm going to go 2 Thunderhammers in each squad and 2 Lightning Claws in each squad. Thunderhammers on the Sergeant for the additional attacks, and something like that. So 2 squads of Terminators, again, they'll be arriving with a Chaplain. They'll have a 7-inch rerollable charge. We could also get some more Infernal Pistols in there, I guess, potentially, yeah. We will also run Bolter Interceptors, and these will really be like a scoring unit, and like these will also be really good at killing any other orcs he's got kicking around on objectives, right? Because we'll need to contest them on objectives. So Bolter Interceptors to kill orcs on objectives, and then lastly we'll run our Falchion Super Heavy Tank Destroyer, which will have the Heavy Bolter, Twin Heavy Bolter, 2 Laser Destroyers, and then that Twin Volcano Cannon. And the Twin Volcano Cannon, I think, will be quite good against these, because I'll 120-inch range is nice, obviously. Heavy 2d3, so we're averaging about 4 shots. Strength 14, so I'll wound them on 2s. So if I buff this with a Tet Marine, I'll hit them on 2s, I'll wound them on 2s. They'll be -5, and they'll be 6 damage, so really only be saving on 6s. And if I roll heavy, like if I rolled nice, if I rolled 6 here for the number of shots, I could literally kill a whole squad in a single turn with just the main cannon. So yeah, and then obviously I'm following up with 2 sets of Laser Destroyers, which are heavy 6, strength 10, -4, d3 +3. So yeah, if I had a nice shooting phase where I make all my hit rolls and I make a good number of wound rolls, I could actually shoot 500 points of those. I could kill 6 rocket trucks, or I could kill 6 mecha scrapjets in a turn. It's kind of a dilemma. The scrapjets are the thing that's going to hurt the Falchion. The rocket trucks don't really hurt the Falchion because they're only strength 5 and the Falchion's T8, right? So although he has a ridiculous number of hits with the rocket trucks, I don't think they hurt the Falchion. So I think I have to shoot the scrapjets with the Falchion and just try and kill like 2 squads of scrapjets, because he only has 3 squads of scrapjets. So even if let's say in turn 1 I just shoot everything that the Falchion has into the scrapjets, and if I only kill 1, maybe 1.5 squads. How many rhinos do I own? I have some rhinos. But I don't know what I would put in the rhinos that would be really effective against this. Like company veterans, maybe? But again, I was thinking basically like turn 1, I hide everything at the back of the map and I have the Falchion shoot. Turn 2, I try and get on some objectives, because when I try and get on objectives, I'll start losing models to his indirect fire, and I'll start losing a lot of models, right? So turn 2, I try and get on objectives, but at the same time in turn 2, I bring in the Captain, the Chaplain, the Sangria Guard, the 2 squads of Terminators, and I just try and make as many short-range charges as I can, and basically probably go after the rocket trucks, right? So like if my Falchion kills or does good damage against the scrapjets, then the Deep Strikers go after the rocket trucks. And if I use Canticle of Hate right, and I guess what I mean by use it right is use this, because Canticle of Hate gives you a 6-inch consolidation and a 6-inch pile-in, right? And that's something that I definitely don't use enough. But if I use that right, so you get the 6. So if you're within 6 inches of the Chaplain, you get 6-inch pile-in and 6-inch consolidation. So if I position my units right, I guess like if we talk about the Sangria Guard being able to kill 1 squad of rocket trucks, if we can get the Terminators in with like another squad, so we could do enough to maybe like kill 2 squads or do enough damage to like really hurt 2 squads, then we just consolidate into the 3rd squad and accept the fact that they're going to hit me back. I mean, if we consolidate into a squad of rocket trucks, for example, what is the Rucker Truck's weapon skill? Like, it's weapon skill 4. So against Sangria Guard, they're only going to hit me on 5s. And they're only getting 4 attacks. So surely just... It's going to be 12 attacks, but we're only going to be hitting on 5s. 12 attacks hitting on 5s is like 4 hits. Wounding on 3s, that's like 2 wounds, maybe 3 wounds. Saving on 4s for the Sangria Guard. So like, if I consolidate into the other squad of Rucker Trucks, I maybe lose 1 Sangria Guard. But if it means that the Rucker Trucks are now in combat and they can't fire at me, like, do they have a fallback and shoot stratagem? Is that a thing? Do I not, like, what is that called? Use a stratagem in any phase or if your vehicle is not within engagement range. Well, it's not that. Yeah, I'm not seeing anywhere that lets them fall back and shoot. They do have AP in melee. They got -2 AP in melee. I think only Blood Axes have fall back and shoot. Alright, what is Andrew running these as? Were they Blood Axes or were they something else? Let me see. He's running them as... Oh, he is running them as Blood Axes. Alright, we got to check that. So that gives them some sort of mad fallback and shoot as well. Great. Okay, brilliant. Let's see what that does. Each time a ranged attack is made against a unit with this, if the attacker is more than 18 inches away, then the unit with this culture is treated as having the benefit of light cover. Okay, so he gets +1 to saving throws. Units with this culture are eligible to declare a charge or shoot, but not both, in a turn when they fell back. Okay. So... yeah, I mean, it's gonna be... I guess it's gonna... I think the only way I can win is that if I can use that 6-inch consolidate and pile in from the chaplain to either wrap up wrap up things, right? So like, I'm stuck in combat with them and he can't fall back. So I have to get units all the way around the buggies, so that there's nowhere for them to move out of combat. Like, maybe he can Desperate Breakout? Yeah, I mean, probably he could Desperate Breakout, but it's pretty risky, right? I actually forget the ruling on Desperate Breakout. Where is it? Desperate Breakout. Use the stratagem remove phase. Select 1 unit from your army that has not been selected to move this phase and is engagement range with at least 1 enemy unit. Roll a d6 for each model in that unit. For a result of 1, that model of your choice is destroyed. Assuming that model was not destroyed, it can now attempt to fall back, and when doing so, its models can be moved across enemy units as if they were not there. Any model that unit that ends its fallback move within engagement range of any enemy model is destroyed. Assuming the unit is not destroyed, you cannot do anything else this turn, e.g. it cannot attempt to manifest psychic powers, shoot, declare charge, even if the rule that would allow it to do so after falling back. So yeah, okay, so if he Desperate Breakouts, he can't shoot. So yeah, I just have to wrap models then. Do you know what? I was humming hawing about the Sangria Guard. It might actually be good if Sangria Guard cannot kill. Like, on average, the Sangria Guard do 23 wounds against the buggies, right? So that's actually perfect, because that leaves like 1 buggy alive, and I can consolidate my whole Sangria Guard 2 inches around the whole buggy, so there's nowhere for that buggy to fall back. The Sangria Guard are in combat with it, and if he wants to pay 2 CP to Desperate Break out 1 buggy from the Sangria Guard, I guess that's probably fine, as long as my Terminators are in on combat with another set, and then my Falchion is shooting away the scrapjets, and then the Bolter Interceptors come in and waste things that are on the objectives. And then hopefully my assault intercessors or my incursors can move up the board, or guerrilla tactics up the board and get on objectives as well. Here's a question that I actually need a little bit of help with. So Battlescribe says I start with 10 CP, is that right? I've spent... That seems wrong, right? I spent 1 on Icon of the Angel. I spent 1 on Angel's Exemplar for my Warlord. So he has an additional Warlord trait, which is Imperium Sword. And I've spent... So that should be 2 spent so far. And then what do I need to spend to include the Super Heavy? I feel like the detachment is -3, the falchion is -1, but you get 2 CP net back now? I think this is wrong, right? Like, I thought that they changed the ruling so you get 2 CP back. I remember reading this. It's in chapter approved, isn't it? And it's like right at the start of chapter approved. So I think if your army includes 1 or more super heavy auxiliary detachment, you can change the command benefits of one of them to +2 command points if the unit from this detachment is not your warlord, but is the same faction as your warlord's detachment, and the faction is not Chaos, Imperium, Aldari, Ynnari, or Tyranids. So I get 2 CP back here, right? So this just cost me 1, so I start on 8, I believe. Right? You may need to update Battlescribe, yeah, probably. But do you like this list, or is there anything that the way that I feel like I have to play it is like I have to be out of range of the heavy squig launchers. Like, I just have to be out of range of them in turn 1. So I have to give up all the primaries probably in turn 2. Like, you know when I play Necrons and like you join the stream and it's like I'm already 15 points behind. I have to give up 15 points, I think, in turn 2 and just avoid all these launchers because it's just too many shots. 56 shots, hitting 50% of the time means 28 hits. He's wounding on 3s. He's calling a wag. So it's 28 times 66. So it's 18 shots. And basically my Marines are only saving on like 5s or 6s. Like so he's basically killing 50 Marines a turn with those rocket trucks. So you can kill all my troops in a single turn if he's in range. You could yeah, I mean, I would like to run some rhinos. I just don't know how I would. I really think that the close combat squad, how does his gunline handle transports? Well, I mean, it's just yeah, I mean, the rockets will just make quick work of the transports, right? Strength 8 -2, 3 damage in each. He's got 9 of these, and each of them gets 6 shots. So you're talking 18 strength 8 shots -2, 3 damage. So yeah, enough to kill like 2 or 3 rhinos pretty significantly, pretty easily actually. You can probably kill 2 or 3 rhinos and then once he's killed the rhinos, you can shoot everything inside the rhinos with indirect fire and kill everything else. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't have a problem at all against rhinos, I feel like. I mean, you can only smoke screen 1 rhino. Those need line of sight, don't they? They do need line of sight, yes. But I mean, they are able to move 10 inches and assault and shoot with no penalty, because they've got that clan trait or something. I'm gonna have to bail though because I can hear my wife in the other room making dinner, so I will be in trouble if I stay around any longer. Leave me some. I'll post this list up in Discord. You know, I'll just do that just now, and if you. It's kind of what I think I'm going to run. But if you want to leave me a call, like I haven't looked out the models or anything like that yet. So if you want to, leave me a message or something, I might make a change. We'll see. But it should be a fun game anyway, and it'll be nice to get the falchion back on the table. It's been too long. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the stream. If you did, if you can hit the like button, it would mean a lot to me. Thank you. And and we'll be live tomorrow night for a game, and then a couple of videos coming up. This next video about Jack and his melee list and how he did at the US Open, and then obviously the tournament video that I'm working on for my list. So I've got those coming too. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday afternoon. Thanks for hanging out. And I will see you tomorrow night about 7:30. So about an hour and 15 minutes from now, to anyone that's not familiar with time zones. Alright. By the blood are we made. Peace.